Today we have a really exciting call to give you insight about market updates and insights about mining race. Also, we got a couple of questions from the community. We are here to answer as well, the clarifications, questions about market, about the company, or about our product as well. Just allow me a few seconds. I'm trying to fix the screen share on presentation. Okay, great. So today we are going to talk about definitely the Bitcoin mining race product and what is next, what is expected for the community. Also, we have some exciting updates, about new programs we are going to launch, for the mining race. And I will start definitely understanding why we are here, why we are building the community as mining race. Always I try to put the global capital, global asset market in perception, so we understand what is the potential of what we are building together. So first, I highlight about global assets today. This is, if you think the value of our globe, including all assets like real estate, bonds, and stocks, all combined together, the value of our globe today is around 1,200 trillion. Fast forward to the one of the smallest, which you see today, but still growing really a lot. The Bitcoin share from all global assets is around 0.15%. What I show you this because we are still too early in Bitcoin journey, and what we are trying to do as a community, what we are trying to do as mining race, we are trying to expand the capital share, part of the movement we are doing to expand the capital share of Bitcoin across the global assets. So here's the common questions which we receive always. Are we late in this, or we are, in the early adoption? So I take always the story of internet. 50% adoption make internet obvious. Means like first year, second year, a lot of people heard about internet. For 2-3 years, it was difficult to get it. After few years later, we reach 50% adoption. When we hit 50% adoption, then internet becomes obvious and usable for all businesses, all individuals around the world. So if you look at this, and we look at now the Bitcoin adoption, today only 5% from globe holding Bitcoin in any form. Means in ETFs or direct in their self-custody wallet or in exchanges, all cumulated together is around 5% only from the globe. So there are 95% who never mine Bitcoin, who never own Bitcoin yet in our population. So why this is important to understand? Because first step when we look at market analysis. If you look at market analysis today, if Bitcoin hit 1.5% from global capital, then the price per one Bitcoin should be 10x from current price. That make the single Bitcoin valued at 700,000. If you want to think about future in 5, 10, or 15 years, no one knows. But then we are expecting Bitcoin to be 15x from global capital, and that represents really huge value from current price. That means single Bitcoin will be $7 million. Why this will happen? Definitely through our education program and awareness. We encourage everyone to watch the content we release. It won't happen because it's speculation about price. It's not because of trading, not because only adoption. Because of the ecosystem of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a new decentralized financial system, which everyone talks. What means? It means that there is no central authority which authorizes transaction between two peers, entities, or businesses transacting Bitcoin and value real time without any control, and because it's anti-inflation system. It means the value of Bitcoin only increase. It does not depreciate based on inflation because it's limited supply. If it's not open supply, no one can print any Bitcoin or issue more Bitcoins ever, more than the existing 20 million plus the 1 million remaining mining, which I will speak about shortly. So if we look now and what is the current condition of Bitcoin? There is index which called the Greed and Fear Index, which measure the emotions of the people towards Bitcoin. This emotional index is not prediction index. So what it means, if now Bitcoin price is 70,000 or 72,000, the same price we witnessed in 2024, which is 70,000. In 2024, it was extreme greed. People emotionally attached to Bitcoin because the price was increasing. And you see that most of people really heard about Bitcoin, or they said, oh, it's the right moment, why not to get into Bitcoin mining journey? And what you see on today, the fear and greed index, it's extreme fear, it's around 10. Which most people, because the price dropped recently, most people they start thinking and questioning the foundation of Bitcoin, and is it good? Maybe it's fear, maybe it's time to sell, and so on. Reality, that extreme fear means potential buying opportunity. If you understand Bitcoin or understand financial markets in general, always the expert says that whoever enter when there's extreme fear, then the potential of it's a buying potential opportunity, and the opposite on extreme greed, which is market, they say oversold or overheated, and that's why maybe more people enter in that, and that's we call trading, or people who like to take the Bitcoin as instrument of trading. They try to enter when everyone is positive about it, but they forget the fact that this is emotional index. This is not a reality or price forecast index. So a message which is clear, and we try to teach that in all our campaigns and events we run in Dubai. We say always, not your keys, not your Bitcoins. If you don't hold the private keys and in non-custodial wallet as a Bitcoin, and you hold it in other forms, in centralized exchanges, or you hold it in form of ETF, electronic cash paper, then you don't hold Bitcoin. Why? Because there is a third party authorizing your transaction. If you want to send that Bitcoin from wallet to wallet, you need third party approval, and that's against the design of Bitcoin network. And I always encourage everyone, and it's an important message here, because we mining rates, we run as much as decentralized system from a consumer point of view. So I encourage everyone, please, for your wallet or wallets and mining rates, please recover your phrases, write them down. Don't rely on auto recovery on your phone or on your web pages. You should recover your phrases and secure it all the time. So Bitcoin is unique, yes or no? Let's ask ourselves a question, can we self-custody anything else we trade today? If you open the Wall Street, or you look at all investment opportunity you have around you, you can buy commodities, you can buy ETFs, you can buy bonds, you can buy many other aspects like stocks, many other things. You can investment instrument you can buy through the trading platforms. But can you custody that? Can you say, like, I bought gold for $1 million, can you send me the gold home? Or can you send me the oil, which I trade on the exchange or on the brokerage portal? Can you send me that? No, you cannot self-custody. So the Bitcoin, by design, because it allows you to self-custody and transfer, it's the best asset which you represent your real ownership. So why we put now the only asset which you can self-custody, which is decentralized finance, and we try to push that inside centralized finance. What happened today? We see people leveraging Bitcoin. We see people trade Bitcoin. So we took the solution from traditional finance and we try to put it in traditional finance and trade it in the way which is convenient for us. And now Bitcoin makes people smarter in managing their money because you are holding your money. And we believe that if most of the people, they self-custody their Bitcoin and they contribute to the Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin network, that will bring a lot of adoption and strength to the Bitcoin itself. So let's look at the bear market, build always strong winners. Here I like to say a story. When you hear stories from people around you that I bought Bitcoin in 2010, I bought Bitcoin in 2016 or whatever at the price of 3,000 or 6,000 or 8,000. Always winners, they enter the market in bear situation. When the fear index is high, it's an opportunity. This is not mining race advice. This is not me, Rami, telling you that this is if you search the internet and try to see, always there is best buying opportunity when people try to walk away. It's the best time for people who walk in to the market, and Bitcoin is not exception to that. So we say who accumulate and mine now will before the next halving and the next cycle will lead the market in a circle. So we see this as opportunity and big push to accumulate more mining power. And if you want to look at Bitcoin technically or at the network, the Bitcoin network now is stronger than ever. What that means, it means that more people today mining than last year, than 6 months ago, than 2 years ago. Why? Because miners are the Bitcoin people who believe more in Bitcoin. They want to contribute to the Bitcoin network as well, and they want to build a portfolio and strategy on accumulating Bitcoin rather than entry and exit points, which is not the best way to hold or to enter to the Bitcoin. Is good, is not bad, because you can get Bitcoin by buy, mine, or earn. And here what we focus in mining Bitcoin, as accumulation and earning Bitcoin definitely through the grid bonus. So I got questions. I will highlight a little bit here. Definitely insight about mining nowadays and in the future. So I start always this answer by saying that mining today, is it profitable or not? Depends on the efficiency of your fleet. So if you have more efficient devices and you have managing your partners in better locations, then definitely, you are still maintaining your operation. Difficulty increase with more people joining, yes, correct. But when price of Bitcoin drops, so some of the old miners and some of the companies or solo miners, if you see it more difficult to mine Bitcoin, so they start switching off the devices or leave. And this is called smart correction in how Bitcoin ecosystem and mining ecosystem build. Because when people leave, then the same reward distribute more to the existing people, then you will see what is called hash price, which is profitability of Bitcoin increase for the people who stay there. So here, the key point of mining race, which we said from day one, we are doing a community mining ecosystem. You are not doing a solo miner. So if you are accessing a mining power or you're accessing a mining device, core or cards for certain time or for certain ROI period, but we as a community, we are combining the power and distribute to all people joining the system. So what happened? Let's take 2 examples. Some solo miner, he bought mining equipment 4-5 months back, and now he's doing mining. If he run his ROI for the next 3-4 years based on the current price and profitability, maybe he will be minus, certain percent, maybe 30-40%. Because he will calculate the capex he bought the devices, then the hosting, and how much profitability, and then it will run it. So you'll see solo miners who rely by themselves to manage, the location, the farm, everything, they are suffering more. So what we do here as a community mining, we simplified this and we try to accumulate all the power from all mining farms and operate where it's more profitable and better conditions. And the community mining becomes more resilient. So instead of solo miner losing that, and the second example, that portion, and the second example of someone bought Bitcoin at 110,000 and now at this price is minus, let's say 40%. But people who joined our community, because we do the stable mining concept and we do also the course accumulation concept, which I will cover also part of this presentation. So we are more resilient to market changes, and the users for us till now, they have not lost a capital yet, and we don't expect that. But what happens that the mining rewards and the outcome of mining with this condition stretch the card duration. And we saw that many cards stretch in duration or earning per card drop because you cannot scale the power higher than certain percentages every month over month. And we are working to increase the power to get the actual card demand, core demand, and devices demand matching always to the supply. But the fact is, since I highlight about stable mining, and also we have a few questions here. So because of this drop, which is not natural, this is first time in Bitcoin history that we witnessed 5 months in a row drop. So what happened during this time? There is no loss in capital, which is something we are trying to maintain, and we are trying to even accelerate. So the extension of time period and lower card earning now for another second reason, because now we have from Q3 last year, few cards working, which is cycle. Then we have few cards working from Q4 last year. Then we have Q1 this year cards working. So we have 3 cycles run together, which is first time we see in mining race since 1 year or 1.5 years. So we're increasing the power, but now what we did booster acceleration plan, which is random, is not as systematic yet. But what we are trying to do, we're trying to take a certain portion of power and accelerate the cards, which runs more for longer period. Then we are trying to get out from Q3 cycle. Then the reward per card will streamline again and increase again for the current cycle and previous cycle. So that is a community mining ecosystem. We are not doing a solo mining ecosystem. If you're doing solo mining ecosystem, then you transfer the hash rate. When the profitability drops 30-40% and the price drops 30-40%, then you are losing from your capital that amount. In our system, we are doing the whole community mining ecosystem together, and we are trying to catch up, and we are very positive, on increasing the power, increasing the earning, and closing the cycles, because how the system is designed. When the profitability increase and card increase, the current cycle will work faster, and the accumulation will do as auto correction in our system. So it is. I try to summarize it for you, but it's big system and big mining operations behind this facts, and what we are trying now to make sure that our services delivered on time. Our clients, they are maybe they have slow ROI outcome, which is true, but still they are all hitting positive ROI through bear market condition, where when market recovers or even the bear market continues, still we are more resilient. We are stronger as a community to continue the mining operations, other than like people buying Bitcoin or people spotting solo mining through other platforms. So the other interesting part is about mining. So the question always, for everyone in this world, like not 20 million, like 3 days ago, it was exactly like 20 million of Bitcoin already mined and 1 million Bitcoin left. So this is 95% already mined. So the 1 million left, always I say, if you take the price of Bitcoin at current price and you take the 20 million in the mining price, almost it's equal. So the potential of remaining Bitcoin in current price, if you forecast it at 200K per Bitcoin, which is price could be later achieved, so that could be a higher return in future. So the remaining 1 million Bitcoin might be higher return from the already mined 20 million Bitcoin. And what is the interesting fact of it? Interesting fact, regardless of market dynamic, that half of this Bitcoin remaining, which is 500,000 Bitcoin, will be mined in the next 4 years. And 500,000 remaining after that will take 100 years to be mined. So if you think about, do we need to start now or after 1 or 2, 3 or 4 years? So we see that half of the remaining will be only on the next 4 years. And that's a big signal that why miners and the Bitcoin network, you see it stronger and stronger day by day, because the time matters. And here is the name of mining race, because we are racing to get the biggest portion of the remaining Bitcoin, not for mining race's company, for a distribution for people. So we're trying to take from remaining and distribute it to 1,000 and 1,000. And today we have more than 50 to 60,000 people receiving this mining reward globally. And thanks for everyone helped this project and helped this community to grow this point. But let's look at the opportunity window. What is the opportunity window before the next cycle, the next Bitcoin cycle, and halving coming in 2 years? So before the next halving is really opportunity cycle. Before the next Bitcoin 4-year cycle from 2028 to 32, it's also the cycle. So accumulating hash power now, accumulating Bitcoin now, and waiting for the next bull run, definitely that is behavior for winners in Bitcoin. And don't take this exception or like direct point from me. You can watch the performance of Bitcoin in the last 10, 15 years and watch what happened before halving and next halving. But also I got some part which I will show you in today's code. So what is the actual reality we live in today? 5% they own Bitcoin in any form. But if you see how many people mining out of this 5%, it's very low. Why? Because people, they still, as I mentioned, take Bitcoin as price chart. So what is Bitcoin? They open Bitcoin price chart. Oh, okay, it was 120, now it's 70, it will go to 80 or it will go to 50, and we keep forecasting Bitcoin. If you zoom out, no one ever lost Bitcoin from holding it for 4 years. Apply that to any other investment stock or commodities. Maybe we have like gold and silver, still they are growing in value in 4 year cycle, which is great. And Bitcoin is growing much faster than them. If you look at the price appreciation in the last 5 years, Bitcoin grew 800 times, and gold grew 200 times. So the gold price almost double, like 2.3x. The Bitcoin in the last 5 years went 8x. So whatever you see performing assets, still the Bitcoin, we believe, is the fastest growing asset, in terms of market capitalization and price. So here is an interesting chart. This is from Bitpo BTC. You can search it online. This is called Bitcoin halving regression, and it shows the power chart, Bitcoin power chart. So what this means, every 4 years, they are trying to put this line, you see it on green, and they're trying to forecast the Bitcoin price and see what is the behavioral trend of previous cycle and apply that for future trend. If the Bitcoin follow the power cycle, then we see that lowest price of Bitcoin before next halving, which is expected in March, April 2028, the low is 181, average 200, and the max that could reach 700, based on this power chart. What you see in the previous, we hit the highest few cycles, and we are now close to very low. Don't take this as guarantee that this is price. I'm trying to show you third-party sources, how they forecast Bitcoin price. But keep in mind, if Bitcoin miss the next halving and it goes lower the power chart, then we expect the next cycle that will be a correction. And here comes to people how you want to calculate Bitcoin accumulation. Because if you are converting Bitcoin to USDT, not individual, also as a company. I always take this example. Let's say I paid $10 for hosting this month, and I make Bitcoin for $11. So I make $1, which is 10%. But what I make in Bitcoin, if I don't convert it to USDT and I wait another 30 days, then and assume that Bitcoin goes another 10%, so I make 12. So if you come and run out the profit P&L for you in the same month, if you hold the Bitcoin, it will be higher, let's say 20%. If you sold it at the month one and sold it a month two, then you are making 10%. So this indication that most of the companies or most of the people who are in long term in Bitcoin mining, or in Bitcoin in general, they try to say and hold the Bitcoin, and you see that terms a lot across Bitcoin channels. So the fact is, everyone should have a journey. What I believe, everyone should have a story to tell about Bitcoin. And imagine that only 2 out of 1,000 people will have opportunity to own one Bitcoin, and this is true. Like only 0.27% of population. So it means 2 to 3 people out of each 1,000 person in this world will ever have one Bitcoin in their wallets. The interesting fact also, if you take concentration in corporates and institutions, and that that's a trend, and since 1.5 years, we see a lot of acquisition from institution of new Bitcoin or mined Bitcoin. So if you remove that portion, then maybe we'll come to 1 person out of 1,000 person owning Bitcoin. And that is, if you don't have a story, you should create a story, because then at certain time, you should, if Bitcoin hits this prices and forecast because of the problems it solved, because of assets it's replacing on the system, the traditional system which we use for 100 years. Also now we have a newer system. So if that's become true, everyone should have a small contribution participation in that system. So if we want more people now to hold Bitcoin, we want to grow the community. It's great now, the amount of impact we did in 1.5 years from mining raise, and everyone contributed to this growth. We have 50,000 plus people, owning Bitcoin and have non-custodial wallets. What is our mission? We see that we need to create a mission for 1 million people from our project, but maybe 100 million exist in Bitcoin mining or Bitcoin owners, and increase the adoption, which will benefit and make the system even stronger. So for us to do that, also we introduced Nitro Race, which is additional on top of all existing rewards which you are familiar with. We are doing the Nitro program. The Nitro program is very exciting. Simply, it will reward people who expand the community and bring more people to mining race and to Bitcoin in general and Bitcoin mining. So how that works, from every week, from Monday to Sunday, there is a specific target of new spot subscription. And here is the tiers. If anyone invite one person and he buys total new spot, let's say $500, which could be one platinum, like $1,000, then he earns this percentage on top of the all standard earning, like mining race risk credit. So then if he get 500, then he get 10% risk credit plus 10% Nitro. So that's 20% from that. So that's additional reward for people who are building and growing the community and expanding the word about Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. This works in 4 tier. Start at 10% if someone bring 500, 1,012, 2014, then 4,000 plus. There is no limit. Then it goes at 16%. So this is, you will see it in the app. It will be released anytime soon. We are waiting just app approval. Then this will be online. So this additional compensation, which really reward builder and people who onboard more people to network. So the Nitro will weekly, as I told you. But what else we are doing? Consistent builders and who really continue giving awareness and education and onboarding people to mining race and mining ecosystem. If they continue a streak of 4 weeks, they hit minimum 500 per week as a Nitro bonus, then they qualify what we call for streak bonus. Streak bonus is simple, 4 weeks Nitro, total amount, you get 50% from that amount also at the end of the streak. So it's simple. One example, I will just take 1 minute to explain you this. Let's say you have new direct spot sales only, renewal and upgrade not counted, like $1,000. You apply 12% in week 1, you get 120 additional. So week 2, 500, 10, $50, 3 the same. Week 4, let's say 4,000, you get 16%. Then the total bonus you have is 806 plus the risk credit. But you finish the streak 4 weeks in a row, then you get 50% additional, which is 50% from the 860. Then the Nitro plus the Nitro streak together is around 1,300 additional rewards, which also indicates that this person is an active contributor, an active builder, in mining race community. So fuel reward and grow the community. Nitro program will be launched, and we are going to send to everyone a presentation about Nitro and also explain our video to make it active. And once we launch it, then we have the first week from lunchtime till Sunday, end of the day, which is, I think, 12 a.m. Monday Dubai time. So that's the GMT. It will be it will be 4 a.m. Dubai time, 12 GMT. So that's a full week, and people familiar, that's the standard week we follow in our business. So many were waiting for the DEP to begin their Bitcoin story, but the DEP never waits. No one knows when the recovery, no one knows what is the lowest price, not mean that anyone is in the world, but we see that we call it DEP because it dropped from all-time high to 40%. And we are positive that these DEPs always bring opportunities for people who put the emotional index aside and try to accumulate through building portfolio of mining, or get portion of Bitcoin through buying, which we are not offering currently buying Bitcoin, but mining Bitcoin through products. And our product, as you know, the core, which works for 1 year and 1 terahash per second. So that's a time-based product. Then we have the device, which is 4 years, and you are getting the device online with auto hosting deducted, and that's a time-based product. Then we have the stable mining cards, which is ROI product, which has no fixed time, but it has fixed ROI, once it reaches the target. So that portfolio also gives people who want to have higher rewards on time, so they can get the mining core and mining device, which gets the full hash price, 90% of the hash price earning per day. So that's faster accumulation, regardless of market conditions. And if you want, depends on market conditions, then the stable mining ROI. So this portfolio, we believe we are keep expanding and improving, to allow everyone to choose, their best product and how they want to grow their Bitcoin accumulation and mining race. So that's major messages I wanted to cover today. I will stop now and I will take a few questions which I received from you. So I will just answer a few questions. Okay. So we got a couple of clarification regarding the locked balance and auto renew, how it works. We released last month, 2-page explainer about stable mining card and locked balance and claimable balance. But I will give just general answer. So when any card work, we accumulate the balance from auto renew per user, per spot, and not per card only. So when the locked balance from all the cards is enough to buy a new card, then the auto buy works. The auto renew for that card works. And when the card expires and there is the total balance from all the cards locked is not enough to buy a card, then the full balance goes to claimable. But if there is partial, let's say you bought card at 300 and the card closed at 330, and the new card price is 300, then we renew at 300, then the 30 goes to the claimable. So this is a quick 3 scenarios, but if you go and see this sheet as well, we have explained more scenarios because there are more than 10, 12 scenarios, depends on the user. But the main answer that we don't look at each stable card balance separately. That's how the auto renew works. Because if you have 10 cards and you have the earning from 10 cards enough to buy one card, then you'll see that it does auto renew and auto buy for a new card for you, because we treat the balance as accumulation from all the cards, which has auto renew on. Then you see the balance in lock, and the claimable balance, which is the card auto renewed and you have still extra profit, you see it in claimable. And if the card finish and it's not enough to buy a new card, then you see the balance goes to a claimable as well. So another question, is there a maximum runtime of card? This is a common question we receive. What we did, as I mentioned in the presentation, during last 30 days, we select certain days we can get extra hash power and allocate that hash power earning only for certain cards. And this is for the oldest cards running on the system, to pull start cards and, allow the people to get a new mining card with the newer. So this is not a systematic. So we don't have rule that the card, let's say, works maximum for 6 months, because that's a question. The time for mining cards is open. It can work 120 shorter. If the conditions goes up, then it can extend, without time limit. So the major thing is when we see that we can have a booster, for these cards, then we put this booster on, then we make them reach target after certain days. So another thing we released about expiring license, we released guideline. As most of you maybe know, we have already a rule, but we didn't really sharply implement all that rules to allow people who want to renew their spots more grace period. We had grace period 180 days, but it extended. So major 2 things, if the system buys card for you when your license expired, the answer is no. Now, when the license is expired, then the system stop buying the card and you cannot buy even any mining product, but you still have your current card working until they finish. So we got another case, very specific, but I will just highlight it. What happens if I don't renew my license and my card extend after 180 days? Because in our guideline that the spot will be paused and suspended and deleted after 180 days without renewal, because that indication that the person is not continuing in the system. So what we will do, if the person has any active cards extending even after 180 days, then we'll keep the spot in the expired status for this. Let's say card worked 190 days and the spot already expired for 180 days. Instead of deleting the card, then we'll extend the spot for this very few special cases. Maybe it's tens of cards, against hundreds of thousands of cards running in normal condition. So another question we received about grid bonus. As you know, our system gives 90% direct contribution to the mining owner, mining card core or device, now all unified on grid system, and 10% goes to the grid bonus. So the grid bonus definitely depends on multiple things. Within the cycle, grid bonus is not a systematic earning. It is the ratio of hash price generated from all cards, all network, under you. Then that earning for all the cards contributes to the person as grid bonus. So a change depends definitely on Bitcoin price. This is very obvious. It depends also within the cycle. You might have 5 or 10% from the community cards under you expiring, and they wait 2 days to be reactivated. And sometimes they expire and they hit the target before that. So depends how many of the cards active under you are getting expired and renewed. You might have 2 days gap in some time, so that's not a standard math. So third one, this percent, let's say a card making, just to say, making 0.001 Bitcoin, then you are making 4% from that number. But if the card makes less than that number, then definitely your grid bonus will go down. So it connects to the community ecosystem. It connects to the total earning per card. It connects to the profitability, because hash price is the main factor, number 3 in why grid bonus fluctuate, because hash price change every 10 minutes. And sometimes you see hash price for a full week at, let's say, 3, then you have a certain number in grid bonus. If in the following week it dropped to 2.9, then you should have 3-4% less, plus the other 2 factors which we spoke. If the hash price goes within the week, plus, then as well it goes, higher. Important message in grid bonus, similar to the card, because if you look at the contribution from mining devices, contribution from cores is more or less is 90% from hash price, because that's smaller pools and connected separately, not to the similar stable mining pool where we have majority of the power connected. But if you look at the other side, the grid bonus, even though if you get grid bonus lower this week from last week, or it fluctuated, doesn't mean you lost grid bonus. This is a very important message, because the cards keep working till they hit a certain ROI. So if the ROI is less, so instead of you earning, let's say, X amount in 120 days, you will earn also grid bonus X amount and extended duration. So the grid bonus drop and fluctuation caused by lower earning per card is not a loss for builders, is even not loss for the user, but it is extension of time till adjustment and market conditions plus power distribution gets streamlined. So another point regarding the core ecosystem. We updated the core ecosystem last month, and we saw also more adoption in the core. We introduced auto buy of the cores. Means when the earning from cores separately enough to add a core, then we do auto buy of the core, and then you expand and increase your spot power. And that accumulation faster, because the spot currently the core auto buy in the spot is $16. And once you hit that earning from currents, then you start accumulation. If you do accumulation on cards, you need to have the price, let's say $340 to do the compound and auto buy for the cards. So the cores work on power accumulation faster. So the question on simulating the earning of cores, that simulation change definitely. But what we build this system for, let's say if you start with accumulation of higher number of cores, let's say you have 200 or 300, which is enough to add for you a core every day or two. If you have that accumulation, then if you start, let's say, with 300, approximately you will be reaching 750 by end of the year. Then the 300 expires, then you start next year with 450. So the core compounding or core auto buy concept, I want the power of my spot to increase, during the year, which is in line with the what I told you of accumulation and wait for the hash price and price collection as well. So you get the hash rate or one hash power working for 1 year, but that's fixed price from today, and you guarantee that it works for 1 year. Then when you put 100 or 200 compounding, we expect, let's say, around 20% increase in your power, even though when the initial course which you bought expires. So you start with 300, you don't reinvest anymore. You have 300 cores that by end of the year, you might reach 400 or 450 cores. Depends definitely on profitability of Bitcoin. There is no fixed number to that. But what you will have by end of the year is higher count of cores and more power from the start of beginning of this year. And this is very strong system we built in line of accumulating Bitcoin when the price is not very attractive for miner, because we know the hash price dropped from 6 to 5 to 4. Now it's at 3.1. So the other question that relates also to card profitability, I already explained it, but I want just to highlight, because we receive also some clarification that if the card might now do in a year 20 to 30%, not 14%. If you do a math on, as I explained to you, this might be correct. The card might do 30% in a year, not 14% in the cycle, because the cycle maybe extend to 6 months. So it's 28 instead of higher, like 42. That depends if all the conditions in the market remains the same. So if I tell you that this calculation is correct, and we come after 3 months and the hash price is around 3.5 or 4, then again we are back to the same ROI. So the best answer, just as I told you, this is a community mining ecosystem. The more we have better conditions on the market, the more the ROIs might go to the standard one, even to a higher one. But we all, including the users, including the grid bonus earner, we didn't lose. Even we have this dip, in mining risk and mining accumulation, and we have this extension. But don't take the dip calculation and apply that for 1 year. It's not right, because if you did the same thing 1 year back and you did that calculation, that could be, we had cards closing before estimated period. When the market is up, the market is down, it's the other way correction. But if you start now on a certain price of the market at 70K at 3 hash price, 3 cents as hash price, and guess that goes to 4, then that portion will be faster, and also the ROI of existing product will be done as a correction. Remember, the distributed credits is the mining outcome, which we do. So this is as mining risk. We are not in control of hash price or Bitcoin price. We are in control of our product to increase the power and make the pools and try to accelerate the hash power as a community to be more resilient to the market changes. So I'm going to, there is a question about the dashboard and power increase, and if we grow the community, are we increasing the difficulty with it? It's also, good view of the market. As I mentioned, the growing our community has no direct connection with return per card. So if we grow the community more, or if we have more adoption as mining race, that's no link to direct impact of card return. If you talk about Bitcoin, yes, so the more people mining, the same rewards distributed to the same number of people. But this is how it works, because if you see hash price dropped around 10%, in the last 2-3 weeks. Why? Because the hash price dropped. So that's a smart correction. So if we see, let's say 30% drop, then the hash price will go 30% up. So the this applies to major hash rate. So when I say 10% drop, then we have 100,000 exahash disappeared from the market. So when you talk about this number is really huge number. So it's not like contribution by 1,000 or 5,000 or 100,000 people contribute to this drop. This drop mainly for the devices which is old, which is not profitable, consume more electricity, they go out of the system. Then you see when the pressure on some self-mining companies, they try to find a solution because they have also efficiency per fleet, maybe old like for a few years. So there is no direct linkage between the growth and lower card income. So there is a question also like if what we expect on card ROI. As you know, we used to announce the profitability of card every quarter. Now we are running at 114% for 120 days. That's supposed to finish by end of April. And that time we will definitely see the conditions. We don't expect major changes. We try to stabilize and see how we can reach this profitability based on current market conditions and how to mine and in which conditions. But if there are major changes, that will be allowed, or there is any update that will be announced, towards end of April. The question might go down or might go up. Yes, it might go each direction. We don't know, but that's depends on market conditions. Before we start the next cycle of profitability. Also questions are related to the risk credits, and the bonuses associated to this cards. The bonus associated also part of the ROI of the card itself. Because this compensation, even like it's 2% or 5%, it depends on the market condition. There could be also in the future a good profitability cycles. Maybe we can announce increase on that credit. If that goes back to similar rates where we had at 5%, we had 6 cent hash price. So if it goes to the same, so it might be adjusted the same. And what we are saying that the major profitability to card operations not in our hand. What we are trying to do is just to secure the community and be more resilient, not to introduce changes. But we hope as everyone, to have better conditions on the market price and profitability so we can all accumulate more. So there is a question about current situation. We can say that we would like to thank, all the leaders in UAE. The situation is really safe. We operate normal in most of places, and we have no impact. And would like to highlight that Mining Grace as well is international setup. So we have from our infrastructure and server point of view, we have more than 4 or 5 locations worldwide, and we have like in Germany, Netherlands, and we have with biggest operator like Microsoft, and others. We have also hosting in many locations, so for business continuity, which we tackle. And from mining operations, already our mining operations, I can say majority, more than 90%, outside this region. And as we tell you, we do run a lot of mining in US and a lot of mining in Russia and few other countries. So we don't see any linked impact to this and to the operations from Mining Grace team. So I think with that, maybe we already answered most of the common things. As usual, I say if you have any more clarification or you want any points, please reach out to us. We are here to assist you. We are trying to be very responsive, very resilient with the market, and with the changes. We do our best to build really a strong community in Bitcoin mining. That's my final message. We will let you know in Telegram channel announcement when the Nitro program is live. And until next call, take care of yourself. Thank you.